This is the show. We just no.
I can actually I can see him right there perfectly. That's interesting.
Yeah, but then you're looking that way and I'm looking this way.
I need my own camera.
All right, I'll do a little intro here. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. My name's Chris. Next to me, my co-host Michael, and joining us today, very special guest, Anson from YouTube. I could also introduce you as your official YouTube name, Anson Co, which I'm assuming is just the many beautiful people that surround you, because
Exactly.
you're great. Oh, and I wanted to start out by complimenting your fantastic beard.
Oh yes, and the tattoos.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God, how lovely!
Thank
I'm
you.
jealous. Look at us. We have nothing.
It's funny. I was watching an old YouTube video, like one of my older channels, and my beard was very struggling. And I was like, oh, those days.
Well, there's some
Those
people that
days.
can't grow a beard because our buddy Ryan that we have on sometimes is cursed with the patchy.
Lack of testosterone.
Well, don't say that.
Oh,
Anyway,
See, the thing is, it all moved from my head to my face.
hey,
So,
it's not a
that's
bad
pretty
thing.
much what
You look great, man. But yeah,
do what I
Anson,
do.
you've been we don't know much about each other. We kind of just connected through YouTube, and you run a channel kind of similar to our content, which is how I found you, because your videos got recommended to me. And it was like, oh, you guys basically make the same kind of stuff. So, and specifically relating to the Sigma FP, which has been one of the biggest things I've talked about on our channel, because it literally
sure.
it changed the way we made content. But how long have you been doing YouTube stuff, man?
So my Anson Co was 2017. I started that in 2017. I started like the first 2 years doing vlogs, which was painful. I go back and watch them. I'm like, oh my God, why did I yell at the camera so much? But then like, I think like 2019, somewhere around there, we just decided to stop doing like family vlogs. We didn't want our kid on social media and stuff like that. And so I switched over to gear reviews and been doing that ever since.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
so does Anson Co stand for you and your wife?
So it is, it's kind of a little like it started out like as there's actually a lot that kind of carried over from the vlog days, because with Anson Co, that was kind of like Anson and his family kind of deal. And then obviously I kind of just kept it. And I didn't try to like rebrand, even though for some reason I was like, I have 100 subscribers. Like I could have rebranded very easily and not had to like thought twice about it, but I kept it. I even kept my tagline, like the if you ever get to the end of my videos, whenever I'm like go and find your journey, go embrace life, like that's something entirely from vlog days. Because it was all like, here's our story, go find your story.
What's yours? Yeah.
Go, like embrace your journey. Yeah. So
Yeah, I do love that tag. I feel like that fits your vibe really well.
yeah, and it kind of fits like the filmmaking niche too, because it's just like, like go find your, the narrative that you want to talk about, or go find the story that you want to get into, and or just tell your own story through the medium of filmmaking and video. So it still fits. I think it still applies.
I love that you started it with your significant other. I think that's really cool. Is that a connection that you guys had in common when you guys first met, or something that brought you together?
Not at all. Not at all. We it's funny. I cannot get my family to be in any of my videos now. Like I'll do like a lens review, and I'm like, "Hey, can you like help me out? Like I need somebody just like sit here and let me film like you just sitting there." And my wife is like, "No, I'm good."
But you used
So,
to.
like,
But you used
they-
to, Levy.
Exactly. They kind of like got burnt out with it, and I kind of forced them into it, and I feel bad for that. But they, they're supportive. They love, that I was happy and had a hobby and all this. And so, though every once in a while, it's funny now, my daughter is, 5 or 6 or around the five or six age. And she's starting to get into like cartoons that talk about social media. And I gave her this old like Canon point and shoot camera a couple years ago just to like mess around with. Cause I know I love cameras, and I was like, let me see if you're into this. And so every once in a while when we remember to charge her camera, I'll catch her like vlogging, and I'm like, this is priceless.
Oh my God. That is so cool, man.
She hasn't understood the concept that it takes getting the footage off the camera into an editor, and then onto social media. I think her brain thinks that it goes straight to social media, which is again just adorable and priceless. but yeah, it's pretty great.
It is pretty great. It's so wild that kids have that kind of outlet and that medium to express themselves and kind of get those foundations of like, kind of like putting yourself out there and being independent. I feel like when we were growing up, obviously we didn't have that kind of stuff. So like my parents were filming me on camera. We did a lot of home videos and home movie stuff, but not everybody had that. And now it's like so many kids can just film themselves, so their parents are filming them. And I feel like with the video creation, that everybody's a video creator, everybody's able to put themselves out there, and like kids are able to do it at such a young age. I wonder how that will affect, like, I guess people's, I don't know, comfort level and confidence when they get older, and how that will breed more creative people going forward too.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about that. Like I often think about like what would have happened if my parents had put a camera in my hand, or I don't even think we had a camera, to be honest. Like I think my parents never found the value in. My uncle was a photographer, and so I think my mom just kind of was like, "That's my brother's thing," and I don't need a camera. He has a camera. If we ever need pictures, he has pictures. So like we have very few like family photos, family videos. It's just it's kind of like crazy. I'm like, what did my family do for fun? And like, like I don't know. And so it's crazy to think about, but I often think about like what would have happened if I had a camera younger in life. Like one of my best friends is a freelance videographer. Actually, I think he works for a corporation now. And we used to, mess around in high school and like make home movies, and, it was fun, but I never like, because that wasn't my thing, or that wasn't my identity, I never really like doubled down in it. I always played my, guitar and sang and stuff like that, and terribly, mind you. But I often think about it. And that's one reason I got my daughter the camera. I was like, I don't want to force this on you, but I want you to have, the things I didn't have, to see if you actually like it.
I have a parallel story to that, because when I was around 5 or 6, my dad's been a guitar player his entire life. He's still in a band till this day. When we were 5 or 6, he got me and my sister both little like junior electric guitars, and I wanted nothing to do with it whatsoever. And my mom says my dad was so disappointed. He wanted to teach his son or daughter how to play guitar. Deanna was a little more interested too, my sister, but I wanted nothing to do with it. Come to find out that I started out as a drummer. My dad taught me how to play drums at a very young age, and he was like, okay, so at least I got that. And then I picked up guitar in high school anyway, so he got what he wanted in the end.
Yeah, now we go see Chris play at bars and restaurants. We're actually going to be going to see him this Sunday.
Yeah. Now I play with my friend from college. We do covered songs and stuff like that at bars and stuff. So I made my dad happy in that way. But it is funny. I mean, having to, I don't want to push this on you, but here you go. Here's a brand new guitar. Here's a brand new camera. And
yep.
But I'm sure that just made you the happiest dad in the world.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of which, my current battle is getting her to accept metalcore.
You're never too young.
Because I love metalcore. That's love awesome. Metalcore. Like,
hell yeah.
Devil Wears Prada, one of my favorite bands. Like, if not my favorite band. And so I think early on I was like, oh, you want to do the breakdown with me? And she'd be into it. Like, she'd be like headbanging, like
so cute.
doing her thing, throwing up horns. everything. Then she got like she was like, no, Taylor Swift, Paramore. I did get her into Paramore, and that was successful, and that was fine.
Ooh.
Yeah, we just went to her first concert, which was Paramore.
Oh, that's great,
so
man.
That was dope. That was dope. But the other day I was listening to Prada, and she, I glanced back in the back, and she's mouthing some of the words, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit in this for a minute.
That's so cool.
It's a little thing.
There was just a news story of people were actually shaming this woman, but it's different. She brought like a 10-month-old kid to a metal like festival. I don't know.
Well, did she bring headphones for him?
Yeah, she did everything correctly, but people were still honored. She had the decibel reducing headphones.
Right.
She was like, the child is sunscreened and like all good to go. But then people were still ragging on her because like, it's a fucking metal.
But
festival,
I will say metal festivals are a different vibe. Like
right.
That's the only thing where I would maybe give them some sort of leeway is like metal festivals can be interesting. But that being said, like just get over it.
I mean, what? She's the one who's carrying the burden of a child. It's like I feel more bad for her that she can't just enjoy the experience of the concert.
That's her fault.
What is the baby doing to anybody else around her? It's certainly is it just screaming the whole time? I'm sure you can't hear it with the music.
I think there's other people screaming.
That's what I'm saying. Like what's the worry? Was she
screaming and crying with them?
Was she like moshing with the baby?
Well, they did have there was like a thing, a little area for like children there. What the hell? What did they call it?
They had an area.
Oh, it was
for
like
children?
little moshers. It was called.
Oh, they had a little.
What?
Yeah. There was an actual.
Yeah, then
like,
definitely get over it.
Yeah, no. It was like I don't know. I just thought that.
But that's just because it's the metal stigma.
Yeah,
like it's the stigma that people don't. It's dumb, dumb.
Anyway,
I think to this day, my parents are like, "Why do you listen to screaming music?" And I was like, "I don't know. I can't tell you. Like, I just like it."
Yeah. But anyway, going back to the YouTube stuff and when you started making content, we always talk about how we kind of started back in college with making like short films and stuff like that. Was that kind of the same route for you? Did you start as like a film enthusiast or started doing shorts with your friends, things like that?
I mean, I have a couple of like small projects that my friend that I was talking about earlier, he was I think he took like a film class in high school. And so we made all of like the murder mystery type stuff. And in college we did a couple of like reality based like sitcom type shows, and it was like 2-minute long stuff. So I've always had it like in my periphery or peripherals, whatever. Yeah. But I never like got aggressive with it until I started doing more of like the gear review stuff for YouTube. And honestly, like people ask me all the time of, like how much into film, like where did your filmmaking kind of journey start? And honestly, it started with YouTube because it was, I was making content for YouTube. And then I just kind of put myself into this niche, and I wanted to get to a point where I wasn't talking about whether it was gear or tutorials from a place of like an imposter. I wanted to actually like talk with some sort of authority. And so that just kind of like spawned from it. So any like short films that I have on the channel or any like, projects that I work on is probably because of YouTube and because of the niche that I found myself in, of just trying to like make it work. So, but no, I've never, it's funny. I get the question all the time, or people are surprised when they're like, I've never worked on a film set, like a small, big, whatever. Like I don't do this professionally. It's all hobby. Like I own entirely too much gear for a hobbyist, but it's all hobby.
Yeah, I was gonna say from the outside looking in, it doesn't appear to be a hobby. It seems like more of your professional career.
I appreciate that. I mean, and honestly, that's my goal, right? Is to, and I think there's been opportunity to make it professional, and I've never taken it. Even for example, like my day job, like by day, I'm a software trainer. And with my day job, like they'll ask me to do stuff here and there. And I'm like, I'm very protective of this craft. I'm very protective of this art form. I want it to be stuff that I want to make. I want to take my time in doing it. I want to go at my own pace. I'm working on a project right now that I haven't fully fleshed it out, and it's going to be more of an experimental project. But I'm taking my time. I'm kind of like just gathering assets and gathering shots, and I have a general concept, but I'm not rushing it. Whereas like 2 years ago, I might have. I'm kind of taking my time with this one. But yeah, I all hobby. I think it kind of spawned from, originally when I started, talking about filmmaking, because there was a part in my YouTube kind of journey, so to speak, that, I was just content talking about gear, maybe working with brands and stuff like that. But then there was a point, I think it was when I started talking about the GH5. And obviously when you talk about the GH5, that's a whole niche of people that, if you don't know what you're talking about, they're going to eat you alive. That's the side of it. And so I was like, okay, cool. Let me, work on some short films. Let me work on some scripts. And then I got my Pocket 4K and I was like, okay, well, if I own a cinema camera, I have to make films. And it kind of just progressed. And through meeting different people on the platform, it challenged me to know more about the industry and be informed, even if I'm not fully in the industry like some people are, to at least be informed of what the industry looks like and what it takes to be in the industry, so that when I talk about a freaking, drop-in IR&D filter. I remember working with freaking Tokina, or who was it? I think it was Tokina first and then Firecrest, or Format High Tech. I was like, who would use these? Like, why don't you just use a variable ND? That's what Peter McKinnon uses.
Right.
And so you're just like, why would you use these? And then talking with friends, they're like, oh, this is what the industry is using because of XYZ reasons.
Sure.
And so that just kind of like progressed of like the way that I kind of research the products or research what I'm talking about. So that there's that, I always strive for respect from people in the industry. And
Right.
That's kind of the goal.
That's an interesting comment or way to put it. Because on like our podcast, on our show, we try to talk to people about, because we're up and coming, we're trying to learn, we're trying to understand and hone our craft and get better. We're talking to people who are in the same, area as us, where they're trying to get better. Everyone's like in different, areas of the industry.
Right.
But my point is, I feel like, Chris, do you feel like you're in the industry? Because I feel like we all are in the industry because we are the industry.
Well, also
You know
YouTube's
what I mean?
becoming the industry,
Right,
And
that's
it
true
has
too.
been
For sure.
for a long time.
For sure.
Our favorite example of that is the guy whose name always escapes me every time we talk about it.
Evan?
Lights Out. The guy that started as the YouTube.
David.
yeah.
Sandberg.
Sandberg.
Yeah.
Who went on to direct
Shazam.
Shazam and stuff like
Lights
that.
Out, yeah. Annabelle.
So it's like, okay, at the time,
Interesting.
that was an uncommon thing. Do you know that story, Anson?
I don't.
So if you look up,
yeah.
look up the guy on YouTube,
Pony Smasher.
right? That's his
Yeah, Pony
his
Smasher.
tag.
He never changed
That's
it.
his username.
Never
Yeah,
changed
yeah.
it.
A really nice guy,
I love it.
and specialized in, well, not special. His passion was doing short form horror films.
With his wife.
the stuff we used to do. 5 minutes.
Just him
stuff.
and his wife. It's
5 minutes,
just-
6
yeah.
minutes stuff. And he still made a bunch of great ones since then. Just really,
Oh
really
yeah, he
small
still
form
makes
things.
shorts. It's crazy. He's a Hollywood director
And
now.
sure enough, I think it's just becoming a more a path that you hear about more and more often. Is just there's such a demand for content, and Netflix, Hulu, everyone is starting to not really care where it comes from, or at least in being open minded in that way, which is awesome. because I think, I think the old version of that path was kind of more something like Damien Chazelle with Whiplash, where something I want to talk about with is like I want to do with us more, which is make the 20-minute version of a hour and a half movie and then pitch that. So I think that's in a lot of different ways. You're right. We are like, dude, look at your setup right now. You're in the industry.
Yeah, you're not a hobbyist. You're not a hobbyist. You are the industry.
Look at those tube lights.
Well, that's the thing. That's the question I wanted to ask you too about being an expert and authority on YouTube. You mentioned being an authority and having, because I go through this too of like, want to make YouTube videos. I want to talk about this and that, but then I don't feel qualified, or I don't feel like I know what I'm talking about, or people should watch me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Every time. That literally, like, not the last video, the video before last, where I was talking about camera to cloud with the Sigma FP. Like, talk about the biggest imposter syndrome that I had in a video. Like, I was like, I barely know the application of when people will use this. I don't work in environments where people are going to use this, or rather, I don't work in an environment where this is going to be used necessarily, but I have to talk about it like I know what I'm talking about. And so, like, I had like the research that I did, I actually got partnered with Sigma Cine's, one of their ambassadors, Graham, and I was like, hey, I think I can figure this out, and I think I can figure out my talking points, but if I have questions, can I send them to you? And he was like, sure. And so there is, through all that, like, I was like, okay, let me come up with a couple of scenarios where I think it's applicable, where even I can relate it to like a content creation type scenario and talk about it. And that's what I go through every week, because it's not, because, when I say I'm a hobbyist, any projects I do right now would be considered passion projects. Like, I make no money off of videography or filmmaking. And again, like I said before, that's by choice. Like, a lot of that's by choice. I've been asked to do certain things, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. The biggest thing that I do right now, honestly, and probably the biggest source of content that I have, is I'm working my way into, it's a very weird niche, but a BTS niche.
Yeah.
Which is a very small section of the industry, where I like it because I think my ultimate goal is to make documentary of some sort. I like telling people's story.
You made a whole video about documentary rig, right?
Yeah. I think
that was
Sigma
one of the
FP
ones I watched.
rig.
Yeah.
That was super cool because Sigma Cine was like, hey, can we use some of this stuff? And I was like, yes, thank you.
No way. That's so sick.
Yeah. They were like, can we use the thumbnail? Because we like the setup. Can we, I think they did a Instagram post. Like, it wasn't anything super crazy. But for them to recognize that and ask that, like, it meant a lot to me, because I mean, honestly, other than like just making content on YouTube, like, one of the biggest things that bring me gratification is just working with some of these brands. Like, I've worked with Sigma since I was 500 subs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. I've worked with them for years and have gotten to the point where, like, I talk to my rep like he's one of my friends. Like, we had candid conversations and talk about different things. And, I love working with them, starting to work with Lumix now. And it's just cool. Like, I get to test things that, like, I wouldn't if I didn't do this. Like being able to get my hands on like the Sigma 65mm Cine lens earlier this year. Mm-hmm. Like, if I weren't doing this channel, I wouldn't be able to do that. Now I own a set of Sigma Cine lenses since then.
Oh, you do? Wow.
But yeah, Love those lenses. Love those lenses. I wish they had a little bit more character, but I make it work.
Too clean for you.
I find the flaws. No, dude, don't even get me started. I hate that argument. I'm like,
just rub some Vaseline.
Is that what you do?
No, that was the internet thing from. Remember, every video was like, make your video look dreamy by rubbing Vaseline on your lens.
All over your $2,000 lens.
Yeah, and everyone was like, what the fuck?
It's funny. I found this hack. We'll say hack.
Sure.
I found this really just, for all intents and purposes, just like shitty filter. Sorry, can I cuss on this?
I just did. So I think we're good. No,
okay.
We do all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Fair. I forgot to ask that beforehand.
No,
I was like, I never know.
I actually meant to tell you too. I forget if I mentioned, but it's all good, man. Yeah, we're super casual here. We're cool, right, Mike?
There
We're
we go.
cool.
So cool.
We're cool. We cuss.
So freaking cool.
Whoa! You dropped an F-bomb. Yeah, man.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
but yeah,
interrupt.
no. No. The best thing was I found this shitty filter from AliExpress that basically for like certain prime lenses will make the bokeh like the Helios type swirly bokeh.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you know what? That's why I love Sigma lenses, because like they give you like a canvas to work with. And so
Sure.
I think I got derailed from the original portion of this, but basically, yeah, I mean, it's, I like working on the brands, and I like, it's just, yeah.
Well, it's nice that
I see it as wasabi.
Yeah, I'll go and then I'll let you go. But because mine's short, I was just gonna say it's nice that Sigma in particular, like you said, they've been working for you with a while, because we did some work with them as well for my Maldives content, and I'm still in contact with the guy, with one of their other reps, I suppose, who the movie we're producing right now has been all with the FP. So he keeps saying, keep us updated. So they seem very responsive to just like, again, there's just such a demand for content that they're trying to promote. So, but it's cool. It can come from anywhere, as long as your stuff looks good. I mean, it brings me back to our old conversation about getting hired as a DP, etc. Is like, they don't care about your resume. They care about your reel. Like that's how you get hired. If your stuff looks good, people will notice and they will hire you.
Yeah.
So what were you going to say, Mike?
Well, I was going to say what Anson said, I thought was really beautiful and cool, is that you're able, what you said about how you keep the filmmaking side of your life sacred, and how you don't just like say yes to projects and say yes to jobs or gigs that people offer to you, because you do keep it separated and you do keep it as your passion. I think that's really cool that you're able to do that and able to focus your attention on things that you really want to. I feel like me and Chris are people who would do the opposite, because we use the filmmaking to make money, and we do use that as our primary income. And so we're susceptible to burnout. We're susceptible to doing projects that we don't necessarily want to do. We totally run the risk of burnout, because we're we work on our movie. I work on the movie that we're producing. Like, it's my full-time job.
You work on it way more than I do.
But we both do freelance work on the side as well. And we just run the risk of doing too much.
As our main now, because Mike and I both used to work for companies doing production. I was working for a creative agency in Hoboken, doing mostly medical related videos, which ironically now I left that company, and now they hire Mike as a freelancer for all the work that I didn't want to do.
Yes.
Because we help each other out. But Mike used to work for a creative agency too, doing we both used to be full time, and then it seems like the vibe these days is so many people live the freelance life. A lot of people we know are switching to that way because of the freedoms it gives you. And things like that, working for yourself and whatnot. Both have their pros and cons. But so that's kind of what we both switched to at this point, because it's given us the ability to go further with our the passion of filmmaking, which is our film we're working on currently, which is so long and tedious.
It's been
What's the
it's been
what's the
over a year.
runtime goal?
Well, that's an interesting question. Goal. What's the runtime goal?
Oh, goal? I don't think we have a goal.
We didn't have a goal at the time.
It used to be, to give you an idea, Anson, of where this project started and how it's going, is one of our main things that me and Mike used to collaborate on was every year there was a competition called Lightsaber Choreography Competition. And it was basically 5-minute lightsaber duels that anyone on the internet could enter. And we had so much fun doing those competitions. We won a bunch of years and we had so much fun doing it. We said, let's scale this up. We feel like we have the ability now, this is a year ago, to make a bigger version of this that actually tells a story. You know, we're no writers, but we wanted to learn and experiment with a larger story with our group of filmmaking. You know, a lot of our other friends do this more on the side. Because they have like jobs, like whatever, and they need like money. Just kidding. I need money.
Those bills.
But anyway, we basically said let's shoot for like a longer version, like 15 minutes, 18 minutes, 20 minutes.
Sure.
And we started loving what we got so much, and actually ran into a point where we said all of our fighting choreography is great, but our story still kind of sucks. So let's add more.
Sure.
And now we're up to about 38 minutes.
Oh shit!
And we still
that's amazing.
And we still have
it's awesome, but it's still
that's
amazing. It's a puzzle piece, man. Yeah, I'd love to share some with you sometime, a little behind the scenes.
We have
I'm sure you'd love some of it.
6 filming days left in the schedule to fill out the last of the reshoots, the last of like the little connecting pieces that we need to put together. And then, well, by the time that's over, it'll probably be 40 minutes, very close to 40 minutes,
like so
just over 40.
It's the biggest thing we've ever done, man, and we're pretty stoked about it.
We're at 38 days of shooting, and so we'll be at 44.
A day a minute. That's what they say, right?
Yeah. Is this what is? Let me rephrase my question here. Is this kind of what spawned or what started? Because I know you put out on the channel your Christmas short film.
Oh, yes.
Which had a little bit of lightsabers in it. Was this kind of like taken a little bit from that kind of concept, or because you said lightsabers, and I immediately, because I just watched your behind the scenes last night.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That was a fun one.
There's some so not on Chris's channel, on the Helium Turtle channel, but on my channel is where the lightsaber following is. So we have there's 6 lightsaber duels on there, 3 of which I've done together with Chris, and they range from having 300,000, 250,000, 500,000 views. It's like they have quite a big following in the little community.
It's still nuts to us both that they got so much attention.
Yeah.
And that was another reason why we said, okay, we have, you know, it's almost like we know if we put it on Mike's channel that it's going to get some kind of viewership, a longer version, you know? So Mike's channel kind of has a little bit more of a following specifically for Star Wars.
Yeah, if I upload anything else, no one cares.
Yeah. But it's cool in a way that, like, okay, the same thing. We found a niche.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
it's
all about finding those niches.
You gotta find the niche.
Yeah, we were at a crossroads last year. I was personally at a crossroads where we were discussing like what kind of short films we want to make. We do make short films on the Helium Turtle channel. We have some comedy stuff. We have a horror thing. We have some little bit of action stuff. And you know, we were deciding what direction to go in next. We wanted to be better filmmakers. We wanted to do a bigger project than like a 5-minute project. We wanted to learn how to write a script, how to flesh out a story, how to create characters, and you know, what do we use to do that? What genre do we do that in? Do we do an original piece? Where is this going? What's the purpose of this? Who's watching this? And, you know, going through all those things, it came down to leaning into the niche that we already had built. Let's not abandon the audience that we created and the momentum that we had from previously winning the competition, I think a year and a half before that. And let's make a Star Wars project. Let's make a let's make our own original fan film that doesn't, I mean, we always push to like, we don't use like names of characters or anything like that.
Sure.
Yeah, everything's like originally created. So we're able to take the liberty in creating our own characters, creating our own story, and see how far we can go with it and push it until it breaks or kills us, basically.
And it's broken.
And of course, no, I mean, it did break as we were doing it, because we ran into, you run into so many logistics issues, so many issues of this and that. And then we were unsure, is it for the competition? Is it just for YouTube? Or now we missed the window for the competition. I guess it's not for the competition anymore. Well, screw the competition. We're making it for,
we're doing our own thing.
We're doing our own thing.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride.
It's been a crazy ride. And we wrapped up filming in November of last year. And we had, I think the movie maybe at that time was about 25 minutes or something like that, the runtime. And our first act of the movie wasn't great. You didn't know what was going on. and there came a certain point where it's like, he
says it sucked.
Yeah.
Well, I think we literally mirrored the famous like George Lucas behind the scenes of like where they screened Phantom Menace for the first time, and everybody just kind of looked at each other and went, "Well, that was a movie."
We may have gone too far.
We didn't go far enough.
Actually, we didn't go far enough. That was the reason there wasn't enough.
So yeah.
So we ended up reassessing of like, okay, well, 2023, what are we going to do? What are we realistically going to do? Are we going to create other short films? Are we going to write other scripts? We have this project that we love from a certain point on. It's amazing. It's awesome. We love it. Is it worth it to build this out and make it as good as it can be? And then we decided, yes, it is worth it. Let's put all of our resources and time of this year into this project and make it, just blow it out of the water kind of thing.
And I think to wrap it up, going back around to what we were talking about, is I think in the back of our minds still is, let's go where the momentum is. The momentum is with that style. The momentum is with Sigma now being kind of like, I'm doing my own behind the scenes content. I'm trying to be more consistent with my channel stuff, which is why I started putting out more behind the scenes stuff. I'm trying to kind of do more what you're doing too, is just be consistent online presence in tandem with what we're working on. Something I was talking about to Ryan on the last podcast we did about a month ago, which is just, if you don't show what you did online, people aren't going to know what happened. There's so many teachable moments in doing filmmaking, in learning about gear from your perspective. And there's so much valuable content there that people will eat up on the internet, especially when we're all making such cool shiz. And we're all pretty handsome too.
Pretty handsome?
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh yeah, you guys are great on camera.
That's right. Mike, don't down yourself. Don't down yourself. Positivity.
Mike's got better hair than me.
I love it.
I was a can today. I was a.
No,
let me clarify.
Hair.
Let him explain what the hell that means.
I got asked to do a G Fuel photo shoot, and I was a can. They put me in a G Fuel can Halloween costume. I think for the packaging of a Halloween costume. He wasn't even sure.
I'll throw it up when this video goes up. I'll throw it up right here.
He wasn't even sure what it's for.
Yes.
But yeah, Mike was a can. What were you a can of?
It's a new
Mountain
flavor.
Dew?
No, it's a new flavor.
What were you?
Hype.
You like literally were dressed up as a can.
Yeah. He was like on a white background.
Yep. I had to drive all the way to Queens to be a can for 45 minutes.
Couldn't
it took
they
me
have just
longer to
sent
drive
you the
there.
costume and you could have done it
They
yourself?
sent him the costume and then
whatever. That's great. Great segment.
It's my first ever paid modeling gig, and I was a can.
So everyone got to start somewhere.
You
gotta start somewhere.
It's my big break. Start somewhere. It's my big break. I'm going after Pepsi next.
Your IMDb will come up, and you'll be like, the first credit will be the can.
Oh, G Fuel. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Did that gig come about from the guy that you know?
Nick did the shoot.
Oh, that was him doing the shoot.
Yeah. So
okay.
My girlfriend is an actor, and she did a few different G Fuel commercials, a Crash Bandicoot commercial.
Okay.
They recreated the Scream like intro for a commercial as well. And this guy Nick Marola, who might come to our shoot, whatever our next Exodus shoot is. Yeah, he wants to come really badly.
Get him in.
He's the chief creative officer at G Fuel, and my girlfriend became good friends with him, and he was a big fan of our stuff. And so we've always talked on Instagram. We exchanged numbers. We talked and stuff. But we never met in person. And technically, this G Fuel thing, me being a can, was the first time we ever met. It was like an opportunity.
The first time you ever met was huge.
I was just as a can, being in front of a screen, acting like a can.
I like that. Hey, better a can than a can not. Am I right?
That's right. That's right. Oh my God, that was amazing.
You can't curse.
He likes my jokes. Mike hates me when
you can curse, but you can't make bad jokes.
Oh, you can curse, but you can't make. That's a dad. See, you're a dad. It's a dad joke.
Yeah, he is a dad.
That's a dad. That's a dad.
Oh, that's funny, man. But yeah.
Oh my God.
Have you ever been a can?
I have not been a can.
What was your best Halloween costume you ever had?
Say. Oh man, that's hard. So I grew up in a super conservative house, right? Like, so my parents didn't let us do Halloween.
No way.
I know, dude. Of all the like childhood trauma that I have, the thing I'm pissed off the most about is that I didn't get to do Halloween. Like, I actively tell my mother that I'm pissed off about that.
Funny.
Oh my God.
Imagine that.
I can't what?
Yeah.
Was it a religious thing, if you don't mind me asking? Was it because,
for sure.
Yeah, it was because of the spirits and stuff like that. It's like we don't deal with that. Because I have an aunt that's kind of that way with like talking about stuff like, oh, you don't mess with that stuff.
Right.
So.
Yo, I got a text earlier this week being like, my daughter had a dance recital, and the theme was like good versus evil, and my mom texted me the night of, and she's like, I'm very uncomfortable with this. And I'm like, Mom, chill. Like, he took Halloween from me. Come on. What else do you want?
You took Halloween from me. Okay, well, let's spin it. What Halloween costume do you wish you could have worn?
Oh man, there's so many. There's so many. I feel like I had a good Halloween costume like a couple years ago.
Oh, there you go.
No. My favorite to this day, like a given, my Halloween costumes consisted of when I was an adult. But one year I went as my GTA character, which in and of itself is fine. But my GTA character wore like booty shorts and like Vans and ridiculous shit. So I went as my GTA character, and that made me laugh.
My GTA character was black with dreads, so I couldn't do that.
Oh, yeah, be careful with that one.
Probably not appropriate.
You're like 9 years old.
What were you gonna say? Let's what?
What?
What you were gonna say?
No, I was gonna say let's all say our favorites.
Oh, our favorites of what we did in our lives.
I think we talked about this once on the show because you were a Power Ranger at one point. I know, right?
For a few times.
I was a Red Power Ranger for like 3 years.
I was the White Ranger.
Yes, we did talk about this. I remember.
Man.
Well, I was also Obi-Wan Kenobi too for like a few times.
What were you gonna say?
Have you guys ever talked about the inherent racism of Power Rangers?
Oh well,
like the colors.
College Humor made a short
color
about
associations.
that.
Yeah,
it's the Yellow Ranger.
It's so
the
bad.
Red Ranger.
It's so bad.
Who the hell knows?
And then
what
the
they
White
were
Ranger
thinking,
ascends from heaven and is automatically the leader. Like what?
I know about. I didn't even.
I guess that
put
should
that
have
one
some
together.
religious overtones too.
It was. I think about it as an adult, and I was like, I'm a huge Power Rangers fan, but I'm like, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, Power Rangers. I feel like was the go-to as like a boy, like a 6-year-old boy. You know, it's like that was like
For sure.
that was the only thing you were watching.
I was
It's
four.
giant robots and like kaijus and like ninjas and they made like they're still going. Aren't they?
Yeah,
Aren't there like
yeah.
6,000 different Power Rangers?
They're coming back around because they're doing a 30-year reunion.
Oh my god!
There's a movie
film
right? There's
on
a film
Netflix.
coming out.
Yeah. It's like the original Blue Ranger, original Black Ranger.
That's crazy.
And a couple other people. Obviously, yeah. So
imagine that.
It's
the Green Ranger just
crazy.
passed away.
I know.
Recently.
I know.
yeah.
And there was
That was
that gritty independent short that
he
somebody
did, right?
did with
He did
him
with-
in it.
Yeah, so that was cool.
and that was like 10 minutes long or whatever. But I mean, there's
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
what our buddy Vinny, who we've been working with, who runs his own film school in Central Jersey, like an online film. Well, I mean, it's like they have a location and stuff too. But what he was talking to us about, which I think is still very relevant, is make kind of like we found our niche with the Star Wars stuff. He has been using YouTube analytics to detect where niches could be, specifically within like nostalgic stuff like Power Rangers. And he's like, remember his one thing was like, I want to make a Danny Phantom short, like live action short.
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
who
And
wouldn't
Pokemon.
watch that?
He wants to do a Pokemon
And
thing too.
Pokemon, and that's why a while ago I was talking about like Totally Spies and like things like
Kim
that.
Possible too.
Yeah, Kim Possible. Yep. And I was like, well, then they did wind up doing the live action Kim Possible, which was really
Oh, they did?
strange apparently. But anyway,
I think I remember this.
As I was,
So is he just like using SEO?
yeah,
Is he just like,
I don't know whatever tool he was showing
Was
us
it
when we
vidIQ?
were there. Yeah, that thing.
vidIQ?
Yeah. Well, just I mean, it was he's has a producer mindset, right? He wants to produce stuff that's going to get watched. So that was just one of the tools he was using.
Yeah, he's very good with marketing. Very good with like, because he markets to get students for his school, so he's very good at like putting it out there, targeting people on Facebook and stuff like that. He's always talking to us. He wants to help promote our movie so badly.
When we get into it, we will definitely consult him. Really nice guy. We're doing. So
we have class in 2 days.
How did we meet? He was some connection through college.
Oh, I met him through.
I always forget how we met him, but
you met him before I did.
Doesn't matter.
You recommended me to him.
I always recommend you.
Oh, thank you.
This is a little bromance.
It was he was looking for a stunt coordinator, and it was.
Yeah.
And
The Pokemon thing.
The Pokemon thing.
Yeah, I was.
You
busy.
recommended me. Josh recommended me,
And then the whole thing
I
fizzled
connected
anyway.
with him, and the whole thing ended up fizzling for I forget what reason why.
Real nice guy. Since we do the lightsaber shorts, that he loves, we love doing them, and we've gotten a lot of experience doing choreography for the camera, things like that.
Fighting.
Planning ahead for film, for fighting. We're both big lovers of John Wick and things like that. So he said, why don't you guys come teach a class once a month to talk about your experience doing fight choreography. So we're doing our second class this Friday, and like it's all, people of all ages just wanting to get more into the hobby of filmmaking, and they're so nice. Like they were so like actively listening to what we were saying, asking great questions. It's like it's kind of an extension of doing like being an online teacher, of like doing YouTube videos, but in person. It's a cool feeling, man, when people really appreciate the work you've done and are really genuinely interested in the craft. So it's been really cool.
Absolutely.
Do you think you'd ever teach
Awesome.
teach a class on anything?
I feel like that's
Because you're gaining so much knowledge doing your
think
videos
so.
and stuff like that.
Dude, it's funny. Like it's like my nephew is trying to come up in like videography, like doing some freelance stuff. And so like the things I'm having to like voice memo him when he's going into a shoot or like going into editing, I'm like, yeah, you just need to do this XYZ. And I'm like, yeah, okay, there's that knowledge. I think if I were to do a course, it would probably make more sense to do it from a side of being a social media person.
Right.
I think I don't know if my film catalog would be deep enough to say, or like even extensive enough to say, like, here's some courses on XYZ filmmaking, except if this next project, I feel like has a place where could be a teachable moment.
Oh, there you go.
Because it's all textures, it's all macro shots. Like it's just like I'm excited about it, and that's the reason I'm taking my time on it. But I think there's some things here and there, and absolutely, like I think that would be something I'd be into. But yeah, I think it would also make more sense too of like how to be a YouTube channel that's been here for 5 years and have 12,000 subscribers and feel like you are small, and like how to deal with that. And there's so many teachable moments in that stuff.
I feel like the content you make is almost like inherently educational because you're teaching people about gear and equipment and like how to use it and what it does and how it functions, and you're giving people so much knowledge. Like you kind of already are a teacher, especially in my eyes, as far as like, especially when you're shopping around and like you know, beginner and intermediates and even experts watching your content and trying to make informed decisions, and you're the one informing them on their decisions.
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
I forgot. I was going to bring this up before of something that Vsauce has always said, Michael Stevens from YouTube, is that the ability to like do just really good research and put that into words, like that's how he built his channel, was just creating engaging content based on. He says that he loves doing the research more than he loves doing the video. I mean, if you've ever watched a video of him, you know he's just a curiosity turned up to 11. And like, I don't know how the hell he does it, but his thing has always just been taking, you know, just what I already said. Taking knowledge from the internet and putting it into your own words, so that other people don't have to do that research, because you did it for them, and here it all is, and that's a form of teaching. So
I have two things to say to that. So like one thing is that's like my career, my day job is like, I tell people all the time as a trainer, like, it's not that I know more information than the other person. It's that I have the ability to curate all that information that they need to know to ultimately deliver it to them. And they can go and do all the research and find all this out, but I'm like, it could potentially be faster because I've already collected all the information they need to know. And so training or teaching is always, I feel, one step ahead of whoever's consuming it. It's not like the software that I train for, like, I don't know all the ins and outs for that software, but like, I know enough about the next specific thing that I'm about to talk about that the person I'm guiding through that, I can securely guide them through that. And so, that's kind of what I learned from even just like my day life is just, that is a part of it, is collecting information. And that brings me to the second point, which is, how many times have my reply to a comment been, take the free information and move on? like how, people are all the time like, you didn't do this right, or you didn't do that right. And I'm like, cool, thanks. You're welcome for what you got. Bye.
That's just the internet, man. That experience is so unanimous on the internet, especially like Reddit and stuff like that. People are people. What are you gonna
Reddit's
do?
been kind to me.
That's good.
Reddit, the only Reddit, like, not like hate that I get. So I was fine on Reddit until I went to the Lumix Reddit thread. And then people are like, you're not talking about the Lumix camera. You're talking about a lens for the Lumix camera. I'm like, stop.
Go away, man.
I'm embarrassed to own the camera that
I'm just going to stop posting.
I had one of my... Wait, I actually want to read it to you, because you'll find this hysterical. I had a recent comment. Oh, I wish I remember which video.
I'm going to start a whole entire series of like the troll comments I get all the time. It's ridiculous. I had a string of one. It's always fun when you get that one person that decides to follow all of your videos to do nothing but shit comments. And I'm like, I don't know if you know how this works, but you're actually helping me. So thank you.
At the end of the day, that's kind of what I always say too, is like, hey, they watched, and like, that's the most important thing.
That's what I always say too. Yeah.
It's like, hey, you watched it, but here,
I got you to watch it.
Here's, before I forget, I found the example.
I want this comment.
It's literally probably the most like, it's like the meanest thing I've ever gotten. Maybe some of our shorts on your channel.
Star Wars ones.
People get crazy on those.
People
videos.
get crazy defensive, and they debate our movie. I'm not even involved in the conversation, and they're talking to each other and like getting furious.
again like I made the thing, here you go, like do with it what you want.
It's cool.
So
it is really cool.
It is cool to see people get so like freaking angry. But anyway, on one of my videos, which don't get as many views, so it's like probably that's why they don't get as much hate. But this comment I was just reading, I was like, what the hell, man? So he goes, it's one of my FP grading clips. He says, extremely unnatural grade, oversaturated, clipped, crunchy, hard to appreciate the image quality of the camera at all. And I was just like, okay. So I said, appreciate the comment. I do always say I'm no colorist by any means. I just had fun playing around and making things look the way I liked. And he returned with, my comment was pretty freaking harsh now that I reread it. Thanks for replying like a gentleman. And he goes on to say that he's considering the FP, you know, like so many people are, but he was having trouble finding a more natural look. So I pointed it, I like gave him references. I was like, here's some other FP. I think I shouted you out in my reply because I said, hey, go check out this guy's stuff. And
that's funny.
You know, if my stuff's not your cup of tea, but I was like, it's funny how sometimes on the internet people will do a 180 when they realize you're like a human.
Dude, I have like the other end of that. I for a while like found myself being that asshole in the comment section.
Well, that's good to know.
It's so there's this weird thing that happens with YouTube, the community, right? Like when you're a small, like not even a smaller channel, but you're a channel that doesn't work with brands, right? You don't get to test some things. You get this weird jealousy for people that do.
Oh yeah.
And like, it's weird. I was talking to my buddy about this the other day. I was like, it's weird, the jealousy that people get. Cause you'll get like, that's how you get these videos every like 3 to 6 months where it's like, I'm a person that reviews with integrity because I test these lenses for 6 months rather than a week. And it's just like, well, yeah, because maybe you haven't gotten the opportunity yet, because wait until you do and you will, you know? And so it happens. So all that to say, I was that person at one point, right?
I think we all kind of were. It's like, I think you can start as a content creator looking at other people's stuff and just being like, not as appreciative of like the work that goes into it. And I think that's a big part of it. And then you get to do it more. And then you're like, you self-reflect a little bit. So
you're like, man, if I only knew the shit that they go through. So I don't know if you guys follow anybody in like the E-mount ecosystem, but like, I think, what is his name? Sydney Dia. I can't remember his last name. So he did a review of a Sigma I series lens, and he like titled the video and everything, miniature cinema lenses. And like, I don't know why that set me off. It set me off. I went to the comments. I was like, these aren't miniature cinema lenses. Like, they don't, I mean, the gears aren't even real cinema gears.
I was just going to say there's no gears on them, so they're not cinema lenses.
There's no gears. I think people see the grooves and they're like, oh, this can be used for a follow focus. I'm like, no, there's not the same. Whatever. The pitch is different. Anyways. But what's funny a little bit about that is I didn't realize that he was working with Sigma, and my rep from Sigma saw that comment and called me. I was like, oh my God.
Oh no, you're getting like, involved in negative brand perception. Be careful.
Yeah, he was like, hey, I don't, so Sydney's a cool guy. I don't know if you know that, like, I was like, okay, Jack, I shouldn't say his name, but like, I'm sorry. I'll remove my comment. I think I even commented of like, hey man, I'm real sorry. Like, I was a dick. Great review or something like that. And it was a good review. It just annoyed me that he said it was cinema lenses. And so, but now I'm like, no, I'm good. So I've learned my lesson.
Dude, my favorite thing about the holidays is my mom will put out this cheese, cream cheese with pepper jelly. You ever had that?
No.
Ooh.
Crackers, cream cheese, and pepper jelly. Oh my God.
Sibyllus, check 1, 2.
That laugh? That was the fakest laugh I've ever heard.
No, it wasn't.
All right, we're good.
You just haven't made me laugh.
You know, I was just, not to get too like deep about stuff, but
you were just talking to me about laughing.
I was just talking to you about laughing.
I told Jackie this.
I think it's true, at least for me. in finding a partner or looking for a partner of any kind, one of the important things for me is, especially when I've noticed as I've been dating around, of like, I really only connect with people like fundamentally that can make me laugh. I find myself so many times laughing with like laughing to be polite, and like, well, that's something you do like anyway, but I'm saying, like, as you go along, like one of my markers that I found of like if this thing is going to work out or not is like, okay, I've been with this person for like a month, and maybe once they made me like actually laugh. Whereas I've been with other people who just have like, it's just you know, when you find someone that has the same kind of humor that you do, like that's why we connect very well a lot of times, because we have the same kind of humor. And that actually goes back to our discussion. Anson, have you seen the show I Think You Should Leave, the sketch comedy show on Netflix?
I don't think I have.
Okay,
No.
we were just talking about it because it's a very divisive show in that the comedy seems to be either totally in line with like your comedy, or you completely don't understand it. Kind of similar to, I don't know if you know Tim and Eric, like Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim, their kind of comedy. It's not the same thing, but it's a similar kind of comedy where it's like you either get it or you don't. So it seems like it's just a funny it's a thing that we've been talking about recently, of just how interesting comedy can be, and how it can either be someone's cup of tea or not at all.
It's what I bonded with Nick from G Fuel.
There you go.
We bonded over I Think You Should Leave. He's a huge fan, and me and Jackie even talked about, like, if you didn't find this funny, I don't know how compatible we would actually be.
Well, there you go. So you understand what I'm saying.
And it's not to like hang a lot on the show, but it does speak to the level of like how we do entertain each other constantly. We live together, so we do keep each other entertained constantly, but we, you know, it's sharing a similar sense of humor and being able to make each other laugh, and that connection, and that's what we have, and that's what I have with
beautiful.
her, and yeah. And that's what I don't have with Natalie.
I'm writing this down.
Natalie is interesting. What'd you say, Anson?
Calling her out.
I said I'm writing this down. I Think You Should Leave. Is that the name of the show?
Yeah, sketch comedy show on Netflix. There's 3 seasons. Well, this was one of the things I was talking about before, what I wanted to bring up. I was going to ask you, Anson, if there's anything that you... Well, I'll preface this real quick, because I think especially me making my own stuff, a lot of my inspiration for, you know, what I want to do next, or things I want to incorporate into our filmmaking endeavors, is I'll see something like a show or a movie that does something really interesting, and you know, I feel like you take bits and pieces as a creative person of things you saw as a kid, things you watched growing up that like really inspired you. Do you think there's anything of recent that you've watched that has kind of like been either something you really appreciate, or something you want to, that's something that's inspired you recently? Because I have an answer to it, but I wanted to ask you.
I mean, there's a lot and then there's also like not. I know that's a very weird answer, but I you know, I look back. I mean, my biggest inspiration always comes from Jaws, like my favorite movie of all time. Like the way that Spielberg approached that movie is kind of the way I approach pretty much anything that I do. Is I'd rather do it well than not be able to pull it off. And it's weird, like the way that he, and I know this is not recent, but this I'll definitely find something that's recent, but the way that Spielberg kind of like made it to where you had the idea of Bruce the shark, because if he showed it too much, it would look like shit. And so that's whenever I do I work with my nephew on like a film, or we talk about a film idea, I'm like, okay, what's your idea? Okay, let me tell you why this won't work, and let's find a way to make it work and make it look good and make it work, versus try to overpromise under deliver.
Right. That's a great example, though. I see it. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of how I approach most of the things I do. I honestly, it sounds weird, but a lot of the influence I see is watching random filmmakers and indie filmmakers on YouTube. It sounds dumb because like we talked about, I mean, although we just said that YouTube is starting to become the industry.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, like a lot of the visual stuff that I get is from just watching other creators. Is just like, holy shit. I literally like, it's weird. Like every Tuesday, because I post on Tuesdays, right? Like, so like Saturday through Tuesday, I'm like in my second job mode.
Right.
Like, so like Tuesday is kind of like my Friday. And what I do with my Tuesday nights is usually consume YouTube, where I'm just like watching other people. And so I'll go through and like every once in a while, I'll even like type in like on the search bar, like Sigma FP, just to see what the hell comes up.
Right.
I do that with lightsaber
and
stuff.
Yeah. Well, you
Really?
keep tabs, right?
I gotta
You're just
keep tabs.
What's everybody up to? You know, that's like
lightsaber
Yeah.
duel past month, and I
Right.
do that like once a month, and I just want to see what's out there.
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I saw a couple of people last night where I'm like, holy shit, I'm screen grabbing. Like, I'm like, this is absolutely fantastic. There was one I watched last night that was like somebody shot, they did like an artistic dance, where they had a couple of dancers come in. They had like the lighting was really nice and everything. I was like, holy shit, that's a visual that I can use for the project I'm working on now,
Right.
to kind of break up the monotony, of what's going on in those shots. So I think, other creators, and then obviously like, I'm trying to think of like what I watched in the last 6 months that I'm like, holy cow. It's kind of a cop out because it was a bigger, successful, more successful show, but something that I gained drastically from The Last of Us
Oh yeah.
was the fact that like imperfect, and the same thing with like the Batman, right? Like, and they're different, they approach it differently. Imperfect is okay, right? Like, we focus so much as, I'll say, the YouTube filmmaking community or YouTube camera tech community focus so much on every shot needs to be smooth, needs to be just like almost like a photo, like flows like water. And to watch Last of Us and see that a big production show had that much shaky camera movement to give you that realism, to give you that, to bring you into that moment, just reminded me that, what am I doing? Like, it goes, and you can have conversations around tech of like IBIS ruins everything, and it's just, but that was one that reminded me of that. And then obviously the Batman, like, I now want to dirty up my shots every time that I shoot.
That's the lesson everyone on YouTube talked about from that film. Dirty the frame.
Yeah.
Well, the thing we were saying about,
Yeah.
I like what you're saying, because it just goes back to the putting the story you're telling first,
Primary.
and doing what
Yeah.
is best for the story and what's best to tell this story. And I think some of that stuff probably does get lost in some of those more niche YouTube channels, or they're focusing on cinematography techniques and doing this and doing that, camera movements, and there is no focus in the story. And then so you can kind of get it twisted where you're
But
like,
everything looks great.
but everything, yeah, but there's no story. So then like, it's like, you can't even, it's hard to even learn
Lighting's
that.
perfect. Everything's Rembrandt lighting.
Right. Well, how do you even learn those things without going out and doing it yourself, filming your movie, filming your story, using those techniques that you learned on YouTube, and then realizing, why didn't that work? Why didn't my movie work? What could I have done better? And then understanding the things that you're talking about of how, well, I didn't put my story first. I just used the techniques that I learned on YouTube, and I thought that was good enough. And no, it's not. But you can't arrive at that through YouTube. You have to arrive at that by doing it yourself and learning and taking all those areas and just being a student of the game. And that's what we do.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
And I think there's a huge chasm between the YouTube filmmaker, and I'm going to use air quotes in this for the audio people, but I'll use air quotes in this, the YouTube filmmaker, and someone that understands filmmaking how it's supposed to be in a sense, like, because you have YouTube filmmakers that their biggest influence are people like Peter McKinnon, like Matty Hippolia, in
I was going to mention
some of those
Corridor Crew too. Is one of those, I think, for YouTube people.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. And the thing is like, until you go into looking at, and this is why I like watching indie filmmaking channels, even though those are the ones that sadly enough are probably like under 1,000 subs, because people want to see examples, but they never want to see finished work.
Yeah, that's the
you know, I don't know if you guys have found that out at this point, is like people love gear reviews, but when you put out like the film that you were working on for all these gear reviews, like they don't show up for those.
Yeah, dude, I feel you.
And so there's just like this jump of, and I think that's kind of like the growth that people that do learn from YouTube have to make to become a better filmmaker, is understanding that it's not just about the shot. I mean, like, how many times do we see on YouTube, and I'm guilty of this, like we title something a film, but there's absolutely no story. It's all just visuals.
Yeah.
And while like I think we do that a little bit for the algorithm, you know, like I hate using the word cinematic. I think most people in the filmmaking niche hate using that word now because it's been so tainted and like everybody uses it incorrectly, or most of us don't even know what it even means.
That's so true.
But we use it in our titles because the algorithm, or short film because the YouTube algorithm has no idea what to do with microfilm, you know, and stuff like that, or, you know, stuff like that. It's just, it's the game you play, but it creates a monster sometimes. And so
agreed. But the cinematic thing is so funny. It started as just a normal word, and then as the YouTube community grew, and it just became like cringe, I guess is the word to use.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think if you were to say like, get that cinematic look, like everybody, what's the first thing, if you're thinking like a YouTube consumer, what's the first thing you think of when somebody says the cinematic shot?
Somebody says the cinematic shot.
I'm thinking,
you think, like if somebody says,
think of crop bars.
I'm thinking crop bars, backlighting, contrast.
Fair. So I think of like, you know, if I'm thinking of like the typical cinematic, like shallow depth of field, sure, like aspect ratio, like,
yeah,
like, but that's the thing is like we kind of all had a little bit different answers. Like, it's so vague, but yet.
There it is.
We're just
it's
continuing.
a funny thing.
The term applies to even things outside of just lighting and framing too. It's like, well, it applies to blocking of your scene to make it look more cinematic. It applies to acting. It applies to subtle camera movements, not even just lighting, but even our little tilts, our little pans that we're learning. Simple little things make it look more cinematic. But it's not. It's like the whole product. It's like not just. I don't know. It does apply to many different things. But it's stupid. It is stupid.
Everyone would just stop. But it's a buzzword. It's a buzzword I don't think we're ever going to escape.
Well, we're saying it more now, so the video gets more popular.
Oh, crap.
So this video gets more popular through vidIQ.
We're instantly more views. Instantly.
At least 25 more views.
You have to use cinematic in this title. You have to.
Like Chris and Anson discover how to make, or talk about how to make your video more cinematic.
Oh, God.
And then they come to the video, we're just trashing them.
It will instantly do better than any other title you have in your mind right now.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, man.
I was gonna say something about what you were talking about to answer Chris's question about what you watch or what you have watched recently. I think it's really interesting that you watch stuff on YouTube because you're watching. It's cool that you're watching stuff on your own platform, the platform that you're on. And you're watching other fellow creators and other fellow YouTube filmmakers and learning from them and being inspired from them and being inspired directly from your peers. And I mean, I think I actually haven't done that. And I'm curious to try and do that because I usually just go, I guess, the more traditional route of just watching a bunch of movies or watching old movies or just watching recent movies and not so much watching my peers. And I think me and Chris have talked about this before too, about we're short filmmakers do you watch short films? No.
Okay, wait a second. I was going to do this a long time ago. Sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah, no,
but we actually did a fun night a while ago with friends where we binged, like short films on YouTube, and it was pretty fun because most of them are fucking garbage. But,
Yes.
but it would
Yes.
also be fun when you got to a good one. You're like, oh, that was actually really good. We should do it. We should do a little series where we just take like a couple hours on like a Thursday or something and just like bash
short films.
Or watch good ones.
No, find the bad ones. They're really
See,
fun.
I cop out. I align myself in the microfilm territory. I'm like, do not have the attention span to do anything longer than like a few minutes. Like 90 seconds, I'm good. I'm like, yeah. It's funny. For my day job, I just did a edited demo for a 15-minute instructional, and I'm like, I don't do this in my personal life, and so I'm drained. Like I didn't do anything today because I was
know
like,
what you mean.
I'm just like drained from that. So no.
Anyway,
what you said too reminded me of some of the stuff we were doing in class, and kind of like what we wanted to do for our class that we were teaching was, you know, I get inspired from watching, you know, either Hollywood movies or classic movies and stuff, but we didn't want to teach our class with like things that we've learned, or like try to teach them like Hollywood techniques. So this is what they do. We took it from like, let's just talk about our experiences of things that we did and show people what is doable at this level, and just really just kind of just level with them and have a grounded conversation and grounded class of, well, this is what it was going, this is what it looks like not having any budget, and what you can kind of do with that and what you can pull off. And here's the techniques and here's the things that we did that worked for us. And then like, if that works for you, great. But we just solely talk from experience and not try to,
And that's
preach really.
That's so valuable. Like I often have the conversation. So like I something that I've been trying to do lately is like my nephew is the guy that is usually in all my videos. And I'm just like, hey, you want to hang out? I need some footage. Like, let's just hang out. My wife won't model for me anymore. I'm going to, exhaust this resource. But recently I was like, yo, I'm doing the BTS thing, but I'm really wanting to get into, I want to put my teeth into like something like maybe a microfilm, just something with a story, right? Like something with substance. He was like, okay, I got this idea. And I'm like, he like went through this idea, and I was just like, you've instantly just made our budget so much. Like in our budget, our resources, everything. And that's every time I pitch like an idea to him. And it comes from that like lack of knowledge of what it actually takes to make a film.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say it's invaluable, because that's such a practical piece of knowledge to say, you don't have a budget. Okay, this may be your concept. Here's how to execute this concept with no budget, or with XYZ budget, whatever it may be. Like, such an invaluable piece of information, in my opinion. So
yeah,
I love that. I love that.
One of the things I was going to say too that I forgot to say when we started is, I think coming across as genuine is one of the more important things when you're presenting content. I don't know about you guys, but I've always hated with a passion the people on videos that are, I mean, I'm also an introvert, so I'm immediately turned off by someone that goes, hey guys, what's going on today? We're going to try out this new lens. It's going to be awesome. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up, man. I can't handle it. I don't know. Maybe that's better for like younger people, but it like, that's what drains me, is people talking like that. But also I think it just comes off as disingenuous. Yeah. I'm like, I feel like you're not real right now. And I feel like you can tell. You could tell with some people that's a character, that they're not actually doing
probably
it.
what your people in your comments are used to, of why that guy would give you a comment like that, because that's probably what he's used to seeing.
Maybe.
And when you see someone who's genuine,
I feel like it's
and
impossible
real,
to do. I mean, that was going to be my compliment to you. Is like, I love your vibe. Like, I could tell how genuinely interested you are in these things, and I feel like that's a compliment people give to me a lot too, of just like, we're doing it because we like it and like we want to share it, and not because we're playing some stupid character that's trying to get you to like watch our videos. Like, it's like, watch if you want, man. Like, I'm never gonna say hit that sub button. Like, you know, I'm like,
you might have said
that.
If people want to watch it, they'll watch it. I don't think I pray tell find an example.
I'll find it.
Oh God, he's gonna get me being a hypocrite.
No, it's funny. I've hidden my vlogs. So I made them private at some point last year, like all of them. I was like, done. If you watched any of those, it is that direct. You learn from like the bigger people, like you gotta yell, you gotta be excited, and it's just like, oh my God, this is painful.
Oh God!
There was a review I watched. It's okay talking about like watching peers, and like I kid you not, like I will be entertained by gear reviews. Like I will watch a CVP like gear review all day long. Like it's dumb. I don't know why I love gear reviews as much as I do, but I do. But I watched one the other day, and literally that, like the dude started yelling, and I was like, what is happening? I feel like I need to like go take a nap or something. Like,
oh man,
it was so bad.
I can relate, man.
I was like, I'm not gonna give you a dislike, but I'm gonna not leave you a like.
Yeah. So. One thing, I mean, on that, I feel like I brought up Corridor Crew before. I feel like they're the perfect blend of that, where you can tell they're genuine, but they get excited when they need to, you know? And they've just been around for so long that everyone knows they're chill. So anyway,
I think that's the thing, is like, we all have our different levels of excited. Like there are definitely times where even videos now, I can tell when I'm more excited about a specific piece of tech, or something of that. Oh, there was a video I did a couple months ago, and I think it was when like Sigma dropped the APS-C lenses for Fuji X mount.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, I was overly excited in that video.
Some things just get
to you,
it wasn't
man. Like screaming at you, but I was like, man, this is amazing. And so
I got that way for what came out? It was like an audio thing. It wasn't the pod track, but it was something that came out that I was just like, same thing. Is like some things just tickle you right in the right place, and you're like, I want it, and I want to use it right now.
I want it. It happens, but it's a level, right? Like, so like our baseline may be chill and vibe, and then like that level is just like a little bit. You got a little bit more energy in your voice, and so.
I think it was the DJI mics. I think it was when the DJI mics came out, because when Rode started the little mic packs that were like good, but then we used them, and they had a bunch of things that were like not figured out yet, and I think they've since fixed. But the DJI came out and kind of did it better, in my opinion, and I was like so hyped about those. We use them all the time.
They're clip-on mics?
Yeah, they're clip-on. They have the little magnet too that you can use.
Oh, they do have the magnet. I do want those. Those look fantastic.
And the internal mics on them are so clean. Like they're so clean in terms of being like super directional. And I don't know what kind of mic they have in there, but as our first example that we ever did, we went to do a behind the scenes thing, and we were out right on the street here, and a car passes by right behind me.
Right.
What would you expect? We come back in here, and it was more than acceptable. I was like, you could barely hear that freaking car go by right behind me. I would check them out, man.
Amazing.
They are the most versatile mics I've ever used. Very easy.
There's so many things on the list. There's so many things on the list.
Yeah, what's something you're looking at? Any exciting gear that you're looking to get your hands on?
No.
I know
No, I always have something.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
No,
yeah.
between picking up the Cine set last year and then this year I picked up the Lumix S5 Mark IIX.
Yeah.
Like I'm like I need cheap things. Like I'm looking at a bag and I'm like I just need a bag. I just need to buy a bag. That's it. I don't want to finance anything. I don't want to like pay out my ass for something.
What kind of bag are you looking for? Because I might have a recommendation. Because Mike got me started on Tenba. Those bags are awesome.
I love my Tenba bag.
Oh, there you go.
I have the doctor style.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I have the doctor style.
He got me started on that, and then I picked on it. And I tell everyone that's the best investment. I mean, I've put that thing through hell, and it's been 2 years, and it's still going strong.
Oh, yeah.
My only beef with this is sometimes it's overkill, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
right
like,
tool for the right job.
if I'm going with like like my BTS shots, like I've moved away from using like my big cinema rig, which is usually consisting of the FP and the Sigma Cines. I've moved over to just like the S5 Mark IIX with like the Sigma 24-70.
Sure.
Maybe a couple things here and there. And so like, I don't need like a Tenba bag to carry all that around. I just, like I'm using my backpack is the same newer backpack that I had 5 years ago. Like it cost me $20.
Yep.
It is well enough, like paid for itself, but I'm like, I should probably get another bag. So I'm probably going to end up getting one of like the Peter McKinnon, because as much as I like shit on bigger YouTubers and their energies, and I love Pete. Like I love Pete.
Oh no, he's always been one of those people that I feel like you can tell that he's just like pretty genuine.
He's like borderline losing me with the film conversation, even though like for all intents and purposes, like I should love film. Like the vibe he does in those videos, I'm like,
gotcha.
I'm falling asleep.
I haven't watched too much of his stuff as of recent, but I've watched his old stuff, and he always seemed like a go-to guy. Just loves what he does.
I'm like low key a Pete fanboy. Like I even got like
we're slowly ramping up to like where you're. Wait, what is that?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
The multi tool that he put out.
For what
like,
camera accessory, like all kind of little screws and stuff, screwdrivers.
Yeah, looks nifty.
Yeah.
You got your all kinds of stuff.
So
yep, that's nice,
dude. I do the Pete's Pirate Life stuff. I got all his freaking like Pete's Pirate Life coins and everything. Like it's dumb. I'm a Pete fanboy.
Hey man, no
I'm
judgment here. I think that's rad.
I recently got a new.
I want a Sigma FP shirt. They don't make them. I'm gonna print my own.
You gotta make your own. You need a Sigma.
I have asked.
Oh wait, I should show you. Wait.
Times.
Okay, we're doing this now because I forgot to give these to you last time anyway.
Oh my God! You printed these for me.
I got a label maker.
Since then, Jackie got a label maker. So I kind of started printing my own.
That's great. Mine's better.
Oh no!
They used the logo. You printed the logo.
Yeah, and then my buddy Ryan went
sick.
to what the hell is the cinema convention in LA? Cinema Gear something.
Oh, I don't know.
There's some
Cine
kind of,
Expo?
it's kind of
Cine Expo? Something like that. Yeah.
Oh.
Is it
Well,
Cine
anyway,
Expo?
they had a Sigma booth, and he got me Sigma FP sticker.
What?
Yeah, is that fucking rad? I was like,
That
you
is
better get
amazing.
me one. It's a big sticker.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he was talking nice. With
That's
them.
amazing.
He's like, my buddy makes your videos.
My buddy makes your videos. That's what he said.
I don't know. Whatever the hell he said. I don't know. But
Like, who?
I was like, get me one. I don't know if they had shirts, but anyway, I want to make a shirt. So
Yeah, I gotta make a shirt. I was gonna say I got a new backpack recently because I had the doctor bag and I had to not get rid of it, but it's in the closet. It's collecting dust.
why are you so upset about
I'm upset
that?
because I used it for like 3 years with the Blackmagic 6K,
I'll use it. Give it to me.
and then when I got rid
yeah.
of the 6K and got an S1H instead, and now I do these travel shoots, I just keep everything in a backpack and a hard case.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
That's my life now.
Whatever suits your needs. That's what
So
we were
wait,
just saying. But yeah,
Is that what you use right now as an S1H?
Yeah, so I had a Blackmagic 6K Pro. Well, I had a 6K that got dropped into a river
by me.
by him.
Ouch. Oh no.
on a movie.
We've already told this story before.
Oh, yeah.
The short end of it is we were on the last day
Oh, yeah.
of the last shot of our film Apex that's on Mike's channel. I made a BTS video. I'll send it to you later because you'll laugh your ass off. We were on the last shot that was like in a river, and I didn't have the right equipment to be like in the river, so I was standing on a shitty rock or 2x4 that was in the river. And why we did this, I have no idea. I literally think we were brain dead at that point from shooting 13 nights in a row, and we were just like, great, it's the last thing. Let's just like do this super not safe thing. It's like nobody said anything. Like we all thought it was fun. You asked me like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, what are we doing?" I think we were literally brain dead. And then I fell, and then the camera got dunked in the river, and yeah, that thing was fried. I paid him for. I felt so bad that I paid him for a majority of a new body.
It was cool how it worked out because the 6K, that was like in December or October, November, or whatever. And the 6K Pro came out like January or February or something very early the next year. And it was, I hadn't yet bought the 6K, and there was this upgrade. I was like, oh, upgrade. So I got that instead. But then I had that in a GH5 or GH5S. And then, you know, having the 5S, I was like, well, I want to upgrade this. I just want one camera. Like Chris got the Sigma FP. He just had this one camera set up that we are using for our movies going forward right now. And I was like, I just want one camera. I just want one camera that can kind of do both for me.
It made sense. It's like the perfect hybrid. It can do the higher end stuff, but it also has your options of doing the 10-bit stuff. You could scale it down for corporate work if you need to. So I think that's the thing, is like finding what works for you is not going to be what works for everyone else, because it just depends what you do.
Yeah.
So you kind of find your home or your happy medium. I that's how I led off my video is it's definitely very niche, and it's not all the kinks are worked out by any means, but everyone kind of knows that. It's more of an enthusiast thing than anything, I think. Because there's
But it's weird. I've actually realized that like this is a normal thing for Sigma cameras, period. Like people are fanboys for the Quattro, and like they're like even some of the earlier Sigma like cameras. So like Sigma, I think, knows that they have fanboys.
Right.
But yeah. But no, I love the S1H. Honestly, like it hurt to sell it when I did. I will say I do appreciate the S5 Mark IIX because of the autofocus. Like this autofocus is fantastic.
Yeah, you vouch for the autofocus on it?
I heard it was a lot better.
Dude, I am not kidding you. I don't know what magic Lumix decided to pull out.
That's really interesting.
But they went from people don't buy it, even though they love all the other features, but they don't have autofocus, to like, I think it competes with Canon and Sony. Like it's good.
It's like new. Really it's like good. New tech, right? It's something new that they've never had before.
It's a processor that one, it's face detect autofocus, but then it's a processor that was done in collaboration with Leica.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I was looking at it,
but
as
like
I
mean, like
no, that's what I was just saying. Is like you can't do that with the FP. I was like, I know that's not the FP.
I mean, you can. So that was a video I was going to put out here soon, and I had these videos. I'm like, I'm going to do this, and I'm like, oh god, I have to realize. I realize what it takes to actually do it, and I'm like, nope. I actually got a LiDAR set up without using gimbals.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Tell me more, please.
So basically, here I got you.
Demo.
This, let me use the S5 autofocus. I don't know if you've heard of Anson Co before, but they made this for the Pocket 4K, 6K, whereas basically like bypassing DJI's 3D focus to not have to use a DJI gimbal, right? So, it's basically you plug this into so there's a couple of components. You have to use the DJI 3D focus You have to use the Nucleus Nano, and then this kind of like 3D. It looks cheap, like it's a 3D printed thing, but it basically has components in it that kind of connects to a web-based software that will have you kind of like calibrate the lenses that you're using.
Whoa.
And do all these different things. So yeah, pretty much like my last 5 or 6, I would say like the last like 3 or 4 weeks of video, or no, like more than that, like 5 or 6 weeks of videos have all been using this with my Sigma Cine 35 millimeter. And it locks on.
What's
damn
taking
good.
the signal though? Like what digitally is going into that's feeding it the focus information?
I got you.
Damn.
So it's just a DJI 3D focus.
Oh, okay. There's
So-
another component. Okay, that's what I was curious about. Yeah.
But yeah, you plug this in. You plug the Anson Cine into the 3D focus, and then you have the Anson Cine also plugged into the Nucleus Nano. And then basically like through setting up, calibrating the lenses,
Okay.
it works kind of like the
Wow.
gimbal setup where you have like a set of like 5 lenses you can work with. But yeah,
So how reliable would
it's
you
not
say that
perfect.
is? Yeah, that's what I was just getting into. Yeah.
I think some of it's user error for me. So
Skill
I've
issue.
learned that if you calibrate the lens on the Nucleus Nano before you use it, like it is spot on. Like I can go back and forth, go out, like, and it will lock on. I've gotten to where like I set it up and I don't think about it. There was one, I think my video before last, it missed focus. But you also have to keep in mind, I have that lens wide open at T1.5.
Woo. Yeah.
So like when it locks on and it's razor sharp, like that's a testament to how
That's
much it
impressive.
locks on.
Wow.
So
That's hard for a human to do.
yeah. So I mean, it's a pain in the ass to set up,
Right.
and it can be quirky. But I'll probably put out a video here in a little bit about it, because people have been asking about it. But
Yeah, I'd love to see it. That's
helps get autofocus on what otherwise has terrible autofocus.
I'm
So,
still curious to try that whole DJI rig that they came out with, the whatever the hell it was, the 4D.
The 4D.
the 4D.
I just want to hold one and see how heavy it is in real person, because that thing's a chunker. But supposedly it's
There
like,
are some people that like. I feel like that's the new Sony that everybody's just jumping to. They're like Ronin 4D. I'm like, what? I don't understand.
yeah,
It's so
but-
expensive.
again, it's a niche thing, and I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is.
They're just trying to create their own ecosystem with it, which I don't know. I don't really have any thoughts on it because I don't
Which
know
is
how I would use
But
it.
it's so expensive. It's like their first.
10
Time.
grand?
I would wait till the
Is
5.
it 10 grand?
I don't know.
I would wait till the next one.
It kind of rings a bell.
Wait until the next one.
Well, yeah,
Because it's
that's.
their
Wait
first
till the
time.
next
Why?
But then you're
10 grand.
gonna say the next one. Then you're gonna say I'll wait for the next one. Then you're gonna be waiting for like 20 years.
But wait for what? I'm just
Well, you gotta
waiting for
hop on at some point. Oh, you're gonna wait for it to like actually work.
Yeah. I'm waiting for it to like.
I know. I think it works. I just don't know who uses it.
Exactly.
I can name like two YouTubers that use it, and then
Yeah.
obviously they use it for their productions. But
Do you
yeah,
follow the guy
Yeah, it's-
Make Art Now on YouTube? Josh
Yes.
Yo.
yes,
He's a real cool guy.
Yes.
Ryan met him at
Oh, really?
NAB. Yeah, it's apparently a really cool guy
Was he
in
wearing
real
the
life
same
too.
the same shirt?
I don't know if he was wearing a shirt, but he had stamps. He had make out now stamps.
Make out now. Wow. Did Ryan partake? Weird promotional stamp that he made.
Oh man, I want him to see that. Make out
dude.
now.
That's an amazing marketing play. I'm gonna start using that. Just put stamps. Make out
out now.
now.
Make out now.
With you? With me? With who?
Whoever you feel
Whomever,
comfortable with. Anyway,
Amazing.
he made a video on it. I like his stuff's always really cool. Did you see that Ryan was telling me about the rig that he made for the whatchamacallit, the Michael Bay shots?
The Orbit.
Yeah, the orbit.
The Orbit. Yeah, his product that he developed. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't know he like
Oh,
literally
oh,
partnered with
really? It's
whoever the hell it was to make the system.
It's like a product you can
Yeah,
purchase. Well,
yeah.
my God,
I
didn't know
think you
that.
can. Can you
Yeah.
get it? I don't know if it's still in production or whatever, but
I don't know. I think he did something with Condor Blue for it. I don't know if it's still in production, but I know that was that was pretty
That's
cool.
really
I gotta
cool.
hit up. I met a rep for Small Rig at a Nikon event, who asked me if I wanted to do some, typical brand will send you that they make a video on it, but I never hit her up, and I've totally forgotten. I just reminded myself of that, so I got to do that. So it's brand work, man. It's fun.
Hit me up on Insta about that. I have takes.
Wait, about Small Rig?
Yeah.
Ooh,
With bad takes or good takes?
Controversy.
Look at him, he's
Controversy.
shaking his head.
Controversy, drama.
I think it's more of like the people that don't make the videos in a timely manner. They just like keep hounding them about it, and that's it. So I mean, but that's
I don't know.
normal.
I think they're one of the
So-
only companies that has reliable stuff for like niche products. Like they were the only ones making that one of those cable lock systems for the FP or something like that.
Do I still have that? Oh, dude. What's up?
Do you have another one you could send to me? Because mine broke, and they don't make it anymore, and I can't find anything. I bought a second FP body off eBay
Just because
my I knew this was gonna happen too, and I know it's gonna happen with this one too. That the USB-C port is loose on it, so it can't reliably write to an SSD anymore. I think I fixed it, like I jerry rigged something to make it work, but it's going. What you're saying? You got something about this?
No, mine are randomly not working.
Oh, look at
like-
this.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the USB-C on the Sigma FPL was having issues like right away, and I was like, "Oh God!"
Wow.
I thought it was the EVF11, and then then it started happening with Sigma FP, and so I think it's the cables, but yeah, it's weird. So I don't know if you're having USB-C issues. I'm curious.
Well,
You'll have
as
to
soon
let
as
me
I
know
got
more
it,
about
I
that.
knew I'm like I really wanted to save those ports. I was like, I love this camera. I know these ports are going to go from
Right.
pulling stuff in and out. So I tried to negate that by getting I loved that cable lock system. It was great. But at the end of the day, I guess I still did too much pulling in and out, because eventually it just stopped writing reliably to the thing. So I got I jerry rigged a different cable lock system onto it that's like not going anywhere. If you tried to take it out, you probably wouldn't be able to. And it fits the cable in just perfect, and it seems to have been fine since then. But I got another body because obviously for our film stuff, we can't have something that's unreliable like that. So we're gonna potentially try and use it again to do a 2-camera shoot, and I think it'll be up to that, as long as it's not the main camera. Just because I wouldn't want to put us through that. So anyway, yeah, it's been a weird thing. Like I said, I mean, like we said, I think it's it doesn't have the same production behind it that like Blackmagic does. It's like not as many people are buying them, so it's not like really a thing. But hopefully, I know you've heard the news over what they're talking about with the fovea and stuff, right?
I haven't.
Oh,
I mean, I haven't. I've been slightly paying attention to it, but not much.
Well, there's no news really. Everyone's who's a FP person is just like, what's coming next, and supposedly they were developing what's called a fovean sensor, which I didn't even know was a thing until I read the article on it. And it's just a completely different image processing system that apparently they went back to the drawing board on because it wasn't working 3 years ago. In other words, they were apparently supposed to do a follow-up to the FP like 2 years after it came out and scrapped it and went back to the drawing board. And now it's been, 4 years or something like that. The timeline got all screwed up because they were trying to develop a new system and it like didn't work.
So
So
I will say I don't know if it's an FP.
I don't know what it is either. They're just talking about the sensor itself.
Sure.
They don't know what the application of it is.
Well, so the foveon was what they used in the Quattro system.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and then obviously, like we said before, like that's huge fanboy of like the Quattro system. And so people are, I think what will happen is I think they'll continue to use the Bayer sensor for the FP. I don't know if, because everybody that I've talked to is like the Foveon sensor cannot support full frame.
That's what they were having trouble with. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if they'll keep on using like Sony sensors, because I mean that's what they're using is Sony sensors. If they'll keep using that for the FP line, I don't know. I really want them to just like fully embrace the cinema side of everything and just like make a freaking like Komodo, an answer to a red Komodo.
It would be something, man.
That would be fantastic. It'd be fantastic. Because I mean, that was my biggest complaint even like 2 years ago was I love this camera, but there are so many things that like it's just not production ready in a lot of different scenarios.
It's not, man. It's only good for small crews, really, because the footage is a pain to work with for normal. It's like it's all this abnormal stuff. That's what it is.
Right. I say that, and then it was used, and like they definitely used it as a head rig on Halo.
Well, so, it's just like nobody's used to it.
Right. It's kind of that weird in between of like your bigger productions are like, this is an amazing thing, and like I'll use it for either a crash cam or like some other scenario, or like it's the enthusiast, but then you have like the random Blackmagic Sony users that are like, I can't use this, like it's just not. And I think that's what was me at one point. And even like that was my answer for going with the S1H was like I wasn't really ready to make the FP my A cam. And then just through like sheer force of like I wanted to grow the channel a little bit more. I was like, you know what? Let me lean into this. Let me make the FP my only camera. Because I've had it since like 2019. And so like but I've had it as a B or C cam to other cameras. And so jumping into it as an A cam, I was like, okay. And then I fell in love with it even more. And I've loved that camera since I've gotten it. And just it continually grows. And so,
yeah, it's a different,
but yes, man. Definitely not production ready.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, it was my first introduction to shooting full frame, which is like a whole different thing in and of itself. It just different kind of images you can get, right? So getting used to that was like a cool thing. And I was like, oh, I can create things slightly more like the way I wanted, with that more separation and stuff, that more depth of field that it offers you, which, was a whole different thing. I think learning how to dial that back and like say, everyone goes through their own journey of I want to shoot at 1.4 all the time. And then you have to go back and say like, actually,
I still do.
F5.6 is like totally fine, and you should probably do it more than you do. So I feel like that's its own thing in of itself. But I'm looking for the next thing. I was considering the Komodo. I was looking at Zcam, man. If there was more support for Zcam, they'd be in such a better situation. For FP people, I feel like that would be the next logical step. But I've looked into that, and there's just no support for it, and I don't know where it's going. So the whole thing I was talking about, Ryan, with the patents on raw codecs and stuff like that, how Red is effing everyone, and Blackmagic, everyone's in a battle for who can develop what raw, and I don't know. It's interesting. I'm looking for the next thing, man, though, because I was looking at Komodo and stuff like that. I feel like the FP is going to be outgrown shortly, in like the next year, for stuff I want to do. I mean, like bigger productions,
For sure. I mean, and that was where where I was kind of, my crossroads was this past year of like, I love the FP, like clearly like you go search Sigma FP. I was laughing how many like FP videos I've made over the years because it's just like all like Anson Co. And I'm like, okay, I have to like continue to talk about this camera.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the niche. Absolutely.
It's the niche. You look at, and I don't know if you guys look at this, but like YouTube always has like your top search terms or like even like what traffic is bringing you to your channel. Like solidly for the last 2 years, the Sigma FP has been like my top search term. So I'm like, okay, all right, give the people what they want. But I was at a crossroads of like, okay, what if do I want to lean into the world of a cinema camera? Do I want to go with a Canon cinema camera? Do I want to go with, it's funny. In total spent about 12,000 on my Sigma Cine set, right? But I cannot for the life of me spend more than like a couple thousand on a camera body. Like I just can't. Like physically my brain won't let me. Like it doesn't connect.
I think part of that for you is kind of you just haven't found something that you're absolutely in love with, like the FP that can do everything you want and that you like the color for and that everything, you know, because that's what I've been finding is just it has to connect with you, you know, you personally. We're so attached to the tools that we make as creators. It's an extension of you, as corny as freaking that phrase has gotten, but but yeah, I think I feel kind of the same way. It's like you got to connect with it for sure,
and it feels so good. Like even rigged up, like it just feels so good. I don't know. I'm weird about experience. Like I have the S5 2X now that has blazing fast autofocus. I should be using all autofocus lenses, but I still use my Cine set because I love the way it feels and using it. And so
yeah.
It's all about experience.
Nothing wrong with that, man. I'm a sucker for UI. I talk about it all the time. How Sony menus can be just so awful sometimes. Just the experience of using them, and then you come over to Blackmagic, you come over to the FP, and you're like, I'm home. Like I have a nice clean home that I can do my work in, and oh man, it's nothing better than just being able to look at something and love using it. You know. So
speaking of budgets and spending money, if you had a unlimited budget for a project, a personal project, what would you do with it?
Would you invest in? You mean?
Yeah, if someone was to give you, if you had a budget with unlimited money, basically, what would you make of it? What would you want to do?
Fair. You can't say unlimited money because then you have everything. That doesn't matter.
Well, what would you do?
Also, is this open ended?
Yes.
Is this like location and lighting and?
Yes. What would you be your dream here?
Oh man, that's tough. We just took a trip to Croatia and filming stuff there. Like it's instant magic.
Ooh.
Like obviously, so Game of Thrones was filmed there. So like obviously there's that stigma of you can definitely make it look good because Game of Thrones looks gorgeous. Honestly, if I had an unlimited budget, I'd find a dope location and kind of work from there.
Absolutely.
What genre would you work in? Would it be a movie or would it be a series?
Ooh, genre. That's tough. Okay, actually, I told myself 2023 is the year that I embrace that medieval fantasy is like I love it. That and apocalyptic fantasy, like
we gotta show him Tom's.
It's like
yeah.
I'm down for it.
No, our buddy who's working on a different Star Wars thing did a mash of Star Wars and medieval.
Yeah, he made his own original story where it's medieval Star Wars basically.
Mike flew out to Texas to help with it.
I flew to Texas twice to help choreograph it and shoot it with him as well.
Oh my god!
And he does our lightsaber effects. He's also a VFX guy, so he does our saber effects for some of our projects, and it actually comes out July 1st.
There you go.
Shout out Nightmare.
I love it.
And
Nightmare Tom, we love you.
It's gonna be on YouTube. It's gonna go live on YouTube July 1st. It's like he's set the premiere for July 1st. I believe.
Yeah, we definitely got to check
feature.
that out. He put
It's
a
Saturday, isn't it?
It's a feature film. He made an entire feature. It took I think 3 years to make.
Holy shit!
Kudos to him, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a huge project.
That's awesome.
But anyway,
I'm gonna have to check this out. You might have to send me a link.
Wait, fantasy medieval. No. Oh, I think
fantasy medieval or fantasy like apocalyptic with a dope location is what I'd probably spend most of that money on.
I think fantasy medieval, fantasy apocalyptic. When I was coming up with we were talking about feature movie ideas and stuff, that's pretty much where I was leaning. Just because
makes sense.
I felt like that our experience with the Star Wars stuff.
You have to pick one thing to unrestrain you.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
I felt like our experience though, would lend itself towards something medieval, something apocalyptic, something that has a suspension of disbelief to it, where we could kind of translate all of our skills into an original story. I would love to do a fantasy medieval movie. Lord of the Rings is like my favorite.
I know you're a big
Oh my God.
Lord of the Rings fan.
Big Lord of the Rings fan.
Love it. Yeah, like watching that stuff. I think when I was younger, when the trilogy came out, and like you had all of these, like, it's just, there was a large base of fanboys for that trilogy that like made it to where I was like, I don't know if this is my favorite genre. But like watching, like, I didn't watch Game of Thrones until this past year when we were going on this trip, and I was like, I just need to binge this show now. And I was just like, you know what? I'm a fan of this genre. I don't fucking care. Like, I'm here for it. I think if I were to do a story, so it wouldn't be original, it would be a remake. This is going to be probably taboo because they're making a second one apparently, but a remake of I Am Legend. Because the movie is nothing like the book. Like, it is
Interesting
to some extent, but the book is arguably, like, the movie makes you feel good, but the book is way more like out there. Like, it's insane. Like, they're not zombies, they're vampires. Like, there's a whole bunch of it. Like, they don't find a human community. The community at the end is a community of vampires, and they're basically sacrificing Robert Neville to the vampires. That's fascinating.
That's in the book. They do that in the book.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in the movie.
Yeah, I saw the movie. Yeah.
I don't know if it's real, but apparently they're making a sequel, and from like the posters from a possibly not real sequel, like, it looks like a vampire, and I'm like, oh, maybe they're making, going back to that. So
do you know what I've always thought of doing? You know what gets really popular on YouTube that I'm just like, oh man, we could probably do that so easily. People that make those fake trailers for movies that don't exist. or that make trailers like before the new Star Wars comes out, they'll jump it and they'll get one that looks like the real one, and then they clickbait it. They're usually pretty good.
Yeah,
but like
they got a huge.
They don't. That's so funny.
I'm always a sucker for them too.
They get millions of views and they suck people in. And they're like, it's an editing exercise. And I'm like, you know what you're doing.
You know.
You gotta jump ahead of the game and make a bunch of sequel trailers now for movies that
don't even exist,
not even close to existing, and just keep going down the line. So 15 years from now, you did it first 15 years ago. Yeah.
It might be too early for the algorithm.
No.
But no, people exploded with those in Kenobi. Like, everyone was, because there was so much content to pull from that they just had ample editing like material. So anyway, I just think those are hilarious. Any movie that comes out, there's always fan made ones that like people accidentally click on.
I have to go into the comments for people to be like, that's fake. I'm like, okay, that's fake.
Yeah, I know. It's like, ugh. Anyway, what were you saying, Mike?
I was saying, did you see Corridor's new video where they talked about Kenobi?
Oh, did I? No.
About the blue light. It was interesting.
Oh, they talked about the sabers?
Yeah, so it was cool because, I mean, we did a nighttime Star Wars movie with practical lightsabers, except we didn't have blue, we had red and green, and we lit the scene like, properly, not like what
what were
Kenobi
they saying?
They basically were comparing what Kenobi did with essentially lighting the scene with just Ewan McGregor's lightsaber, and how that kind of fucked with the sensor and like essentially ruined the exposure, the skin tones, ruined everything.
That makes
sense. And that's why it looks the way it does.
They were super fucking bright.
Right. And we knew, because we even knew our sabers were going to be bright. We didn't want to, have the same kind of issue. But it was a very particular blue light issue through a digital sensor.
Interesting.
And they were comparing it to...
I'll have to watch that video.
The Watchmen. Mr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
And how he was covered in blue LEDs.
Yeah, I see
the same kind of LEDs that are like, would be in the lightsaber, except that was shot on film. And film doesn't process the colors the same way as digital does. And so they were able to get perfect, exposure and saturation of the color blue, whereas Kenobi, it was basically like, looked really bad. and they were explaining how like you would think that it was a good idea looking at the BTS of The Watchmen and then doing it on film, or sorry, doing it on digital, but not knowing that how the sensor would respond to that.
Yeah, I want to know the specifics of that.
It was really
cool.
interesting, and
Leave it to Nico, or was that Ren explaining that?
I know.
He gets technical sometimes. That's funny. Yeah, I'll definitely watch that.
don't rely on a giant color blue stick to light your scene.
I like blue
that
sticks.
was the lesson.
I'm
That
a
was the
big fan
takeaway.
of blue sticks. Always have been. Always will be.
I love it.
Well, anyway, man, we're running pretty long here. I don't want to hold you too much longer. Do you guys want to wrap it up and maybe leave on a final thought?
Sure.
That
Let's do it.
I don't have.
Oh, okay.
You guys like that? I tricked you. You thought I had something.
I thought you had something good there.
Anything. Well, can you tell us anything? Anson, I'm curious. Can you tell us anything? I know you like to keep your film stuff kind of private, but about what that project was that you were talking about that you're excited that you're working on?
The one that's kind of like all macro and everything. Yeah. So the concept is kind of an experimental film. So, if we're looking at traditional experimental, it's pretty much like no rules. You just film what the hell ever you want to. But the concept is basically like commentary on time. I think I'm approaching 40 soon. Like I'm 39. I'll be 39 in October, and so that 40 age gap is like slowly shrinking in. And so like this is kind of like my take on time just going. And so
I like it.
I'm pretty into it. It's all gonna be black and white, all black and white. Very kind of like as far as like the aesthetic, very like negative space with a little bit of imagery on it. So I don't know if you guys saw the camera to cloud stuff. The camera to cloud video was basically like a lot of that, where like as much as things I could grab, like as much things, because it's again going with the concept of macro. I'm just trying to find like a bunch of different things that I can get textures, get like just things that allude to time in some way. Or even just like the expiration of time. Like I think one of the shots is a skull getting buried by sand. And so like just kind of stuff that will invoke that, that feeling. So, probably be a microfilm because again, my attention span, all shot on FP, all black and white. I haven't decided if I want to do square ratio or standard ratio because I love square. It's great. But yeah, so
that sounds interesting, man. I'll definitely check it out.
It's pretty much all I have fleshed out right now.
Everyone, make sure you like and subscribe to Anson's YouTube channel to make sure that you see it when it comes out.
Yeah, I'll drop it eventually.
Yeah, I think that's what we can leave off on. You heard enough about our adventure that's going on, so that's going to be ongoing for a while. So, yeah, we'll definitely have to stay connected, man. This was awesome. It was really nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you guys. I'm happy to chat anytime, so let me know.
Rock and roll, brother. All right.
Awesome.
Let's call it there then. Yay. Good show, everyone.